We have our last presentation for today, Kathy's title here, and following Kathy's presentation, we may have some time for, you know, some discussion, questions, and that sort of thing on what Kathleen presents, and also on whatever has happened over the last 2 days. And we do continue tomorrow. And then by tomorrow evening, as you know, the Raise workshop begins. Lasts all day Tuesday and part of Wednesday until 3 or 4 in the afternoon, whatever, something like that. And then our conference begins. And then humility. Okay, enjoy. Kathy.
Thanks, Michael. Can you hear me? Okay. I just wanted to start by thanking all of the Bob's crew, the sound people, who work so hard behind the scenes, and just really appreciate all of the things that you do. And I also wanted to thank the Esoteric Astrology community for forging the way into this virgin territory, in a way, trying to lift astrology to a new level, and all of the inspiration that you've given me. And I have to say, it's sort of daunting to even give a talk in front of them, because it's like a few years ago I had to give a talk, or I gave a talk on fire when Michael was sitting right there next to me, and it was pretty daunting as well. It's a sort of a similar situation today. So instead of being very astrologically esoteric, I'm just choosing to speak on a more general topic. Okay. So it's not particularly astrological, but I hope it is interesting, related to the relationship between Earth and Venus, and just some thoughts on that. I guess this is a way of depicting the lotuses, which are ourselves, in process of unfolding. All of these sparks that were planted by the solar angel 18.5 million years ago, which we're told was the great event in the history of our planetary life. As Michael has said, it was I think it was an experiment on our planet, and it's greatly hastened our evolutionary development. And we are now at another turn in the spiral of that great event that occurred 18.5 million years ago when the seed was planted. Now we're at a crisis point, we're told. The solar angels are in a crisis point as we approach a time when these lotuses are beginning to flower, beginning to open. And there is an interesting quote related to this in White Magic, where he said the first planting of the spark of mind in animal men turned animal men into thinking individuals. And this time, on the higher turn of the spirals, it's turning spiritual men and women into gods, or potentially gods. So there's a great flowering going on in human consciousness. We all sense that this is an important time in planetary history. And another quote from the Tibetan states that he says this is the most important time in planetary history, and then he says something to the effect of, my brothers, note the wording that I used. I didn't say this was an important time in planetary history, but rather the most important time in planetary history. And so we're privileged to be alive and working at this time. Oh, sorry. Tibetan says that the study of triangles Could we turn off the lights a little, or dim them? Oh, that's nice. The Tibetan has said that the study of triangles is the most important aspect of esoteric astrology. And perhaps those final chapters in the book of esoteric astrology don't always get as much focus because, at least for myself, I'm always focusing more on each of the signs. But that chapter on triangles is incredibly important, he tells us. And in relationship to this talk, obviously, there are many important triangles related to Venus. There's one, Venus, Cancer, the Pleiades. That certainly is an important one, related to the third aspect. But the triangle that is probably most important for us to focus on, and perhaps the simplest, is the triangle of the Earth, Venus, and the Sun, or the central spiritual sun. And I think this whole triangle, he says, is related to ourselves and to the fact that it's related to the interrelationship between the personality, the soul, and the monad. So as this triangle becomes stimulated in our planetary life, the triangle between the Earth, Venus, and the Sun, so too I think it's an outer symbol of an alignment that's occurring within our subtle vehicles, our consciousness, which is an opportunity, therefore, during this June full moon period, an opportunity because it just follows the Gemini full moon, a sign that's so intimately related to the Earth and Venus. So I do believe that this upcoming Gemini festival is very, very important, and I wanted to highlight that in this talk about the relationship between Venus and Earth. Well, I just basically spoke about that. The process of stimulating through the medium of Venusian energy was really begun in the third round, when the triangle of force was completed and ready to function. It is this factor which occultly makes the third initiation of such tremendous importance. In the human triangle, it is linked the monad, the ego, and the personality, or Venus, the Sun, and the Earth are symbolically aligned. So I think this process of Venus and her relationship with Earth is obviously intimately related to this whole process of making the planet sacred, a process which is occurring over a long period of time, obviously. I once asked Michael when he thought this would actually be completed, and what did you say?
Venus is in her 5th round at the moment, and the Earth has 4 more rounds to go, which are probably, it's just millions and millions of years.
Yeah. But on the inner planes, we are told that this sacredness has occurred, as far as I understand it. And so we're in a process now of precipitating that inner sacredness into the outer form of planet Earth. And primarily that's done, as we know, through the etheric body of our planet. So we're in the process, the Tibetan tells us, of transforming the etheric web of planet Earth from its present condition of squares into a network of triangles. Hence the importance of the hierarchical activity of triangles, which we should all renew if we are no longer active in our triangles work. Renew our triangles, especially during this next 13-year cycle between now and 2025. This is, as we know, a key moment in planetary history. As he said, the day of opportunity, the day of opportunity. So those of us who do practice triangles on a daily basis, we're aiding in that transformation of the planetary etheric body into one that is more receptive to the soul, which is more receptive, therefore, to the Venusian energy, which is always there for our planet. And so I would encourage you, again, to renew your triangles. We know that our Earth is the embodiment of a great life. And as we said, this life is on the verge of a cosmic initiation. And so we too, as brain cells in this great life, have the opportunity held out to us to take our next step, maybe a minor initiation, perhaps a major initiation. And it would seem that this year, because it is a midway point, in astrology we like to use midway points, between perhaps two Shambhala impacts. If we think that there might be another Shambhala impact in 2025, which I would assume would be the case, but we were not told that, as far as I know. And the 2000-year Shambhala impact. So this is a midpoint between two Shambhala impacts, highlighting the importance of 2012. The Mayan calendar has caused a lot of attention to be focused on this year, and regardless of what we think of some of the prophecies, I don't think we should just shuffle it under the carpet as New Age, propaganda. I think there's always something important in these events that grasp the imagination of many, many people. And so this 2012 is certainly an important year. Here's Venus. We're told that in a very real sense, Venus is our sister. She's our older, wiser sister. Even though she's a twin, in a lot of ways, she's much older and wiser than we are. And perhaps we don't recognize that enough. But as Michael's been encouraging us to just look at the sky each night, look at the beautiful jewel that is there for us, and perhaps that will remind us to partake of this energy. It's there for us. Sorry that I didn't make the quotes, the wording a little bit larger. These are just probably very familiar to all of you, but I think it's important to just review them. The quotes from The Secret Doctrine. Venus is far older than the Earth. Venus is the little sun in which the solar orb stores his lights. So Venus is like a sun to us. Light comes through Venus, who receives a triple supply and gives 1/3 to the Earth. That's a great gift. We're constantly thinking of the energy we receive from the sun, but we so too receive incredible amount of energy from Venus. Earth and Venus are called twin sisters. Venus is the most occult, powerful, and mysterious of all the planets. She is veiled by clouds, So perhaps as we pierce through our own glamours, we'll be able to receive the energy, the mysterious energy of Venus more fully. It is the Earth's primary or spiritual prototype. The planetary logos of Venus loved the Earth so well that he incarnated and gave it perfect laws, which were disregarded and rejected. So there's a sense of we didn't have to end up the way we are on planet Earth. We were given perfect laws, but we did reject them, and we disregarded them. And so we pay the price with the present very unsacred status of many aspects of our planetary life, which didn't have to be this way, but so it is. Every sin committed on Earth is felt in Venus, and every change in Venus is reflected on Earth. So Venus is probably involved in transmuting a lot of the pain and sorrow and suffering that humanity inflicts on one another and on ourselves. So Venus has a big job at the present moment. But every change in Venus is reflected on the Earth, and so it would seem that this Venus passage, which Michael spoke about, is a very powerful opportunity for the change that Venus is obviously going through in this passage to be reflected on Earth in a very powerful opportunity for a planetary opening of the heart. Because as Michael said, Venus has a second ray personality, is that what you said? And a second ray monad?
He definitely gives us the sixth ray monad. He actually does,
monad.
but it has to resolve onto one of the higher three in the higher aspects. So it's a 2 and a 6 and a lot of other second ray. Yes.
But many people are saying that this Venus passage is a time when the energy of Venus will be emblazoned upon the Earth. You know, it's a symbol of a great inpouring of Venusian energy, which we always have access to, but this is an eclipse. And we know in our spiritual teachings that when there's an eclipse of the moon, that's a very potent time in the annual cycle. And so this eclipse of Venus, a sacred planet, is ever much so more powerful and important for our planetary life. And that's why we need to take advantage of this upcoming Gemini full moon period as one of supreme spiritual opportunity. And as Maria Christina would remind us, not opportunity so much for our own spiritual advancement, but opportunity to come together as groups to form a powerful cable within consciousness through which spiritual energy can flow. Through the new group, we put ourselves as part of this new group of world servers, and therefore we stand as distribution point of this energy into the life of humanity as a whole. So to the extent that we can hold our alignment, working in tandem with the alignment that's being set up between the Sun, Venus, and Earth, as we hold to that alignment in our lives, the lower reflection between the monad, soul, and personality, it's a powerful opportunity for us to work together in consciousness to let in the light. Venus is the light bearer of our Earth in the physical and mystical sense. The real nature between Venus and the Earth is as elder brother and prodigal son, and this is revealed to us by the intuition when it takes hold of the mind. So it would seem that we, as the prodigal son, have turned that corner. I know I went to a talk given by Philip once where he showed, the chart that I think it's about we've gone to the lowest point and we're now on the upswing. So we're ready to arise and go to our Father, as a planet. And so there's always hope. There's a great deal of hope for the future of Earth. Just a picture of the twins in Gemini. And obviously Mercury has a large role to play. So the three rulers of Gemini are so instrumental in the transformation of planet Earth. Because I do believe that Mercury also gives us her light, his light. You know, so we're the recipient of a lot of light on planet Earth. The Sun, Mercury, Venus. And yet we are in a difficult position planetarily because we stand between Venus and Mars. In a very real sense, it would seem, therefore, that our planet is the battleground for the sexes. You know, just if you look at the symbol in the sky, we're like a battleground. And that you probably know that quote, which I don't have here, from the chapter on Taurus, which is very mysterious about this whole Garden of Eden experience, although he doesn't use those words, but the holy sons of mind who recognized the error that they had made back in the Garden of Eden, or back in those days when there was the temptation, you know. So there's a whole sense that part of the main problem in our planetary life stems from the relationship between the sexes, which has really exacerbated the glamour and illusion on our planet. Not to say, as the Tibetan always reminds us, not to say that sex is wrong. We're not to say that. But somehow in our manifestation of the sexual act, we have allowed open the door to evil, it sounds. Because there's so much lack of love generally found in those relationships. And so if the sexual act is to be truly a manifestation of a joint coming together in love, it seems that we have a long way to go, obviously. And that definitely reflects seriously on the role of women in our planetary life. The role of women is very much tied up with sex and the planet Venus and the many distortions which have occurred as a result of our inability to see clearly what is the role of women in the world. Are they just sexual objects, which is the way the media, the large-scale media, often tries to present that image? I think there's a concerted effort on the part of the materialistic forces of our planet to keep women in their place, to keep women down. And the whole part of the Aquarian age is to bring about a rebalancing between the male and female principles, and therefore let in light into this primary area of human life, sexuality and the marriage relationship. All of these things have to be brought into the light. And the Tibetan has told us that this generation and the preceding generation and the subsequent generation, we have the capacity to solve this problem of sex. And I think that Venus, if we choose to align with her energies and the perfect laws that she is perhaps attempting to reinstitute on our planet, that perhaps we can take a major leap forward during this time. We know that in the decanate system, that Venus controls the first decanate of the Aquarian age for the ordinary men and women of the world. Hence, the Tibetan tells us the overly sexual manifestation of the many people in the world today. They're being stimulated by Venusian energy, coupled with the incoming of the seventh ray. This is really stimulating desire on our planetary life. Whereas the disciples of the world, we know, come into the Aquarian age under the influence of Saturn, a very different manifestation. And it's not to say that the disciples of the world are not influenced very much by that Venusian energy as well. We are on two wheels as disciples, and so we're very much on the lower levels of our bodies, influenced very much by that Venusian energy. So we are very much on the cross in relationship to our own desire natures, and it seems that it's up to us, the members of the new group of world servers, to solve the problem of sex, to solve the problem of the relationship between men and women, so that our planet can take its step forward. Venus, as we know, rules in a number of signs. Taurus is one, the first sign that it rules. When Taurus and Venus are considered together, they concern that which is mental, that which concerns final sublimation, that which deals with sex, that which must work out into symbolic expression upon the physical plane. So the Tibetan tells us in many different areas of the teachings that sex is basically a symbol, right? It's a symbol of the union of spirit and matter, of the raising of the matter aspect into the mind, and the descent of spirit, which creates that marriage in the heavens, which is really what sex is, he says, the distorted symbol, the distortion of that spiritual act. So it's about the raising of the lower energies and the descent of spiritual energies, which creates the birth, then, of the Christ within the cave of the head. So we're seeing this birth occurring in many, many people at this time. So it's a great and powerful opportunity when so many people are undergoing this birth experience. So I think this is it's one of my favorite quotes. The New Age will usher in a change in the attitude of men towards women and of women towards their destiny. You notice he does not say a change of women in their attitudes towards men. He might think we do need to change our attitudes towards men, but he doesn't state it. But he does state that men need to change their attitude towards women. So, all of the men in the room might want to ponder, what is their attitude towards women? And how does it need to change as we enter into the Aquarian age? I don't think we need to make the mistake, as many women have made, that men don't need to become women, and women don't need to become men. But there is some rebalancing. We are in this Libran interlude between the two ages. Libra rules. So we're being asked to come to a balance between the sexes, which is sorely lacking in our planet right now. So I asked myself, what is the destiny of women? I don't know. I don't think anyone has the answer. But I know that it's not to become men. It's not to follow the model that has failed, And because of the many distortions, and because of the glamours and illusions surrounding the planet, that is what many women have thought. I mean, I used to work as a construction worker, so I know that, maybe I used to think I could be a man. As a child, I remember wanting to be a man, a boy, because they seem to have it better in the world. I wanted to be like them. So it's taken me a while to embrace the feminine, But as we embrace the feminine, what does it really say about our destiny? Because we know that everything's changing. We can't go back to the old models of what a woman was. It has to be something somewhat new, some Aquarian definition of what a woman is. It's not the old model. We're told that women, I believe, I don't know if this is true, but in the first solar system was a matriarchy, and women committed all of the abuses against men, and therefore this system, this second solar system, has started out as decidedly a patriarchal culture. But now we're moving into the great age of Aquarius, of liberty, equality, fraternity. So we therefore have to state that there's some new demonstration of what the destiny of women is. It's not something we know. But it's probably based on the changed attitude of men towards women. So men have to, I guess, get off the throne a little bit, you know. They have to come down, and women have to come up. And so there has to be a meeting ground of equals. And it's harder to get off the throne sometimes, you know. So I have sympathy for the men in their changing ways. I lived for a while in Scandinavia, and I saw there a great ability of the men to get down there in the trenches with the women and raise the children. 100%. They're there to raise those children. And it was incredibly uplifting for me to see. And so there is hope, you know. And I asked some of the men how did they end up like this? And they said, well, our society doesn't allow any other way. So it wasn't just a matter of their mothers raising them. It's a whole societal framework where the women and the men in tandem raise the children with a strong social network that is geared towards taking care of children, towards giving educational opportunities to women who've just had a baby, you know. So it's not just enough if we change our attitude, we have to change the structures of the society so that it supports women and children, which is decidedly not the case in the United States. So this country has a long way to go. These are some beautiful girls dancing. There's a freedom, you know, in childhood. But I was just listening to a BBC broadcast the other day from Pakistan. You might have heard of the acid burnings of women. Not burnings, burning. And they were interviewing some women who told their story. And if their husbands don't like what they're doing, one woman said, my husband didn't like my beautiful face. He thought it brought too much attention to me, so he just threw acid on my face. And these kinds of things happen all the time. Burnings, acid throwing, oppression, sexual slavery, murder. Throughout the world, women are oppressed for their very nature. The Tibetan says there's, I don't know exactly the words he uses, but something to the effect that there's this idea that's been planted in this subconscious mind of people that women are evil, that women are, you know, related to the third aspect. They're related to the whole temptresses and all of this. Well, perhaps, you know, the changes that we need to make are going to have to go very deep into this subconscious and lifting and raising of this situation. But we have help. We have a lot of help. So we know that humanity is responding to many impacts. The Tibetan gives us many charts about the influences that are affecting humanity today. This is just one from Esoteric Psychology 2. He says, yes, we're responding to the Piscean energies, but he says, largely these are the people who are not on the spiritual path. They're the ones who are more receptive to Piscean energies still. And the incoming energies of Aquarius are affecting more the disciples of the world and the progressive people. But then this third point I thought was quite interesting. Influential and potent forces pouring in at this time from the great stars Betelgeuse, is that how you say it? Okay. And Sirius. To these two influences, the disciples of the world in the senior ranks of the new group of world servers definitely react. And they produce a stimulation of the heart center from Betelgeuse and of the head center from Sirius. The secondary effect of these energies is upon the mineral kingdom, particularly upon that peculiar product, gold, and that enigma, money. And then I just looked up, the degree of Betelgeuse, which is same as Polaris, which was sort of interesting, at 28 Gemini. And the new moon in June falls exactly on that point. And that's the new moon following the Venus passage. So I do think that this is an opportunity. We're all concerned with the financial situation in the world and the crisis. The biggest crisis seems to be within the financial system. And it might be that this conjunction of Betelgeuse, Polaris, with this new moon could have an impact on the financial system in the world. And we know that that's one of our areas of service. So we might want to work with the money meditation during this time in a concerted way to help bring about a redistribution of the financial situation in the world. And then he says, Venusian forces of great potency are also playing upon our planet. In this connection, I would suggest that astrologers would be well advised to pay more attention to the activity and the influence of Venus. Much emphasis has been placed upon Saturn and Mars in the charts now considered. In the future, equal emphasis will have to be paid to the planet Venus, which in the Aquarian age will supersede Mars as a basic influence. So obviously that's what we've been talking about a lot during this weekend, the influence of Venus in our charts. But I've been linking up with a shamanistic astrological group in the United States that observes these cycles of Venus very assiduously. Each month, when the moon conjuncts Venus, they say this is a very, very important moment to observe. And they link it to the 7 chakras. They state that there are 7 conjunctions between the moon and Venus during the cycles between, the 2 cycles of Venus when it conjuncts the sun and moves then into another conjunction of the sun at a later period. There's 7 conjunctions of the moon and Venus, and they relate these to the 7 chakras. And at each month they work on one of the chakras, lifting the energies until at the 7th chakra, we're purified by this, working with this cycle. So they don't work so much with the full moon, but they work with the Venus-moon conjunctions. And I think this is an interesting opportunity to observe and to work with. And so it's something that we can consider using in our own lives. Also, Michael has suggested that we work with the Venus-Sun conjunctions. When Venus and the Sun conjoin in the sky, that's another powerful opportunity. And when Venus, the Sun, and the Moon conjoin in the sky, as at this Venus passage, It would seem that there's an opportunity for piercing through the veils of Maya, glamour, and delusion, which hold us, you know? So it's an opportunity. And this last point is the energy of the new group of world servers, which up to 10 years ago was a relatively negligible factor, even though present, but which is now increasingly a force with which to reckon. From certain angles, the energy of this group constitutes the hope of the world, and the task of increasing that potency is the task being laid before us today. So this was written probably 60, 70 years ago. So if the new group was becoming powerful then, we've had 70 years to really focus on the potency of the new group. And the emphasis is decidedly upon this group this year. Because as we know, we are preparing for the December festival week, as Michael mentioned. And I wanted to ask Nicholas a question about this last night, but I didn't. He says that during this festival week, which occurs every 7 years, that there is an overshadowing of the constellation Capricorn by what it seems is another Capricornian type, vastly superior constellation that pours through Capricorn. And I was wondering, Nicholas, if you have any thoughts about that? Just so we would be clear about what we're working with in this festival week.
Well, hello. Yes. A greater constellation related to Capricorn.
Yeah, that works through Capricorn during that festival week every 7 years. He states that there is this. And last night you were talking about a larger, wheel, and you said it had the same constellations, but were they exponentially larger and vaster than the wheel than the constellations that we work with, or are they the same?
Well, in the way that I worked it out and presented to somewhat yesterday, it would indicate the constellation of the seven sisters of the Pleiades as that greater constellation, which overshadows Capricorn, so to speak, and hence also aligns with the dragon. And the dragon and the crocodile are closely related thereby.
Right, so we might want to ponder that it's an overshadowing from the Pleiades. And he does say in the one paragraph he gives about this festival week that if the full moon ever occurs during that week, the opportunities are extraordinary. And so we know that the full moon occurs on the 28th, this December. So it's well within the week, the range of that week. And so many people are preparing for this. Whether or not it is truly a time of planetary initiation, I think we can act as if and prepare as if this is a moment in the sign of Capricorn, the sign of initiation, for a possible initiatory possibility, and that we can prepare for that. And we have been preparing for it for many years. So 2012 is an important year, obviously. And the whole point of the festival week experience is to stimulate the new group. It's our week, every 7 years. It's our time to be stimulated and to be lifted up to a higher plane of consciousness. We are the planetary Ajna center. We are related, therefore, to Venus, I would think. It's ruled by Taurus, the new group. Venus is one of the rulers. So the Venusian energy of this year is a powerful stimulus and preparation for this festival week, I think. So when the sun is in a sign that is ruled by Venus, I feel this might be an opportunity for us to work in preparation. So in Taurus, Gemini, and Libra, 3 points to prepare ourselves for this experience. How much time do I have?
You have 10 minutes.
Okay. Here's just for the dates, if anyone doesn't know, the time to be preparing for is December 21st through the 28th. The winter solstice is included, and as I said, it overlaps this year with the full moon. So why not? I knew a guy once who read the Bailey books and said he didn't really even believe in any of them, but he just thought if it happened to be true, he wanted to be prepared. So he read the books. Maybe even if we don't believe in the possibility of all the hype related to 2012, December 21st, perhaps there is something to it, and we should be prepared. So I'm involved with a group that is preparing for this festival week, using online meditations at the time of the full moon and the new moon. And one of the things that we're trying to do is promote the use of the 5 o'clock mantra. For those of you who don't know it, this mantra is specifically related to the new group of world servers. And the Tibetan asks that we use it every day at 5 as a way of bringing through the energy of the 3 aspects into the new group and then distributing them. So I would encourage you also, if you're interested, to renew your 5 o'clock link-up. And if any of you are interested in joining with this online effort, you can give me your email. It's just an effort to try and support the new group of world servers within the esoteric community. It's not a platform for one group to get their message out. It's a platform for different groups to get their message out. This is just a recognition of the importance of Wesak, which we're preparing for now, and the great approach of the Buddha to our planet. This is another interesting quote from the Tibetan. Taurus, Gemini, Libra are all related by a shared rulership of Venus and are said to constitute minor initiations taken upon the astral plane in preparation for the major initiations which occur in Capricorn. So again, as I said, it seems that if this December is the important opportunity which we're being told it is, that perhaps these full moon periods in these signs are preparing us emotionally to take a more broad step forward in Capricorn. This is just the Christ's festival, an image from Rorik, which follows, and the energy from the Buddha is distributed, as we all know, during that Gemini festival. I think I'll just skip a little here. I read a funny thing in the last Venus passage, which was interestingly enough occurred during the time of the founding of the Theosophical Society and the publication of the Secret Doctrine, showing the spiritual importance of these Venus passage periods. And as Michael stated, the next one will occur with the dawning of the Aquarian age. During the last Venus passage, it was a fad for women to paint beauty marks on their faces. That's how widespread the recognition of the Venus passage was among the consciousness of people. So I encourage us all to put on some nice beauty marks. It'll be like a secret club. Don't you think? The guys can do that too. Men are beautiful. Men are beautiful. So I just wanted to end up with, I don't know why, but I've been pondering a little bit on the Tibetan statement that the Venus is exalted in Pisces. You know, it is the 12th sign. And if we think of Venus as related to, in one respect, to the lower mind, that when Venus reaches its fullest consummation, its exaltation, it is in this decidedly boundaryless sign of Pisces. Pisces takes from all the signs. So there's such a fullness and a richness in this sign of Pisces. And it's not an analytical sign. You know, it's the antithesis of analytical. And that's where the lower mind is most exalted, when it has given over the boundaries of analysis, having worked through them. It's a stage, you know. At a certain point, it all has to be given away. And so I think it's an important thing for us to reflect on Venus being exalted in Pisces. And so this quote relates to that somewhat. The fish goddesses who have leapt from earth, Virgo, to water, Pisces, unitedly give birth to the fish god, Christ, who introduces the water of life into the ocean of substance and thus brings light to the world. Thus does Neptune work. This is a mystery, a great mystery revealed only at the time of the second initiation, in which the control of the fluid astral plane is demonstrated. So I think this relates, you know, obviously to some of the work that's being done by those second-degree initiates in the world who are really in the forefront of preparing the way for the reappearance of the world teacher. You know, it is the water of life that is poured into the ocean of substance, I think he says, by these disciples who have gotten some control over their emotional bodies, serving a real purpose in the planetary life. And I just wanted to end with this beautiful quote from the section on triangles. Sorry to have so many quotes, but the Tibetan says it so much more beautifully. This is obviously from the old commentary, and it's just part of a longer passage. The central light of Sirius shone through the eye of the sun. The vision came. The light of wisdom penetrated into the waters and cast the radiance of the heavens into the depths. At this attractive call, the goddess rose unto the surface and welcomed the light within the depths and grasped it as her own. She saw the sun, having seen her sun, and from that day the sun has never left her. There is no darkness. There's always light. And then the heavens within the ring past knot responded to the light from Sirius, which passing through the sea of Pisces, lifted the fishes into the heavenly sphere, Uranus, and thus a lesser triple light appeared, the radiant sun of suns, the watery light of Pisces, the heavenly light of Uranus. This light descended on the waiting sphere and lit the galaxy of little lights upon the earth. A hierarchy of light emerged from its own place. The planet was a light. The little one upon that little world responded slowly to that light until today the little world of men begins to throb in rhythmic unison. Changes are wrought. The cosmic heart, the heart systemic, and the little heart of man began to beat as one. And as this beat pulsates with greater strength, it blends a lesser note within itself, removes its harshness and its note of fear, and thus it ends illusion. And then again, the two are one. So, thank you very much for your attention, and appreciate the opportunity.
Thank you.